This is dropped on the morning show. We're back in studio, back here in Office HD. John here, you there. Came on a little early because we got to hit our marks a little early this morning. Let me set things up for you. Coming up in just a few minutes, we have news out of the Metroplex, and we will acquaint you with what's going on with USL Dallas. Matt Valentine, chairman and founder of USL Dallas, is going to be dropping by for a bit of an education for us all. You saw the announcement. New team coming in. I need to find out the hows, the whys, the wherefores, all the important questions. Matt's going to drop by in a couple minutes. Kaylor Hodges is going to come by from the at the USL show. He'll be at 10:30 Eastern. So it's going to be USL at the beginning, USL at the end, and in the middle, we're going to talk about everything that's been going on in Major League Soccer. Of course, once again, another franchise decides after we go off the air yesterday to have a coaching change. Andy Sartini's out in Vancouver. We'll discuss that. This morning, news breaks out of Dylan Butler Estates. NYCFC and Nick Cushing have parted ways. Depending on who you talk to, he was either fired or decided to pursue other opportunities. And speaking of pursuing other opportunities, you're starting to see Atlanta United players posting on social media that they are not going to be around starting in training camp in 7 weeks' time. So that is the show this morning. Thanks for dropping in, as you always do. We are officially in a no dilly, no dally zone. That means we go to Dallas. Drop in Matt Valentine. Matt.
Hey, John. How are you?
Doing all right. You're at work early, man. What's going on?
I am. I'm an early riser. I love the Dallas Tornado shirt, by the way.
I figured we'd make you feel a little at home this morning.
That's right.
For this, and I went old school for you.
I remember going to some of those games.
When it came to this idea, how big of a soccer fan were you? What was the genesis of this idea? It's like, yeah, I think this is a thing that we need to do.
Yeah, of course. I grew up in really in Arlington, suburb outside of Dallas, playing soccer, played club soccer, played college soccer. Huge fan, wanted it to be my career. And shortly after college, I realized that wasn't an option. So went into the working world, was blessed with some good fortune with some businesses I started, and have been investing in a myriad of things. And I had an opportunity to make an offer to buy the Las Vegas Lights. So back in August, September of 23, I tried to acquire them. I thought about moving it to Dallas. There's a reason why, and I can talk about that. The league didn't love that idea and said we would be interested in an ownership team in Dallas if you'd be open to that. So put a group of partners together, and here we are.
For those that don't know where your plan is, it's not going to be at, Choctaw or North Texas or anything like that. It's in Garland. For those that don't know the geography, break this down for folks. Where Garland is in the megalopolis that is Dallas-Fort Worth. Where is it, and what does soccer mean to that part of the footprint of the city?
Yeah, of course. So Garland's about 7-8 miles, just kind of northeast of downtown. So it's in Dallas County. It's on the east side of Dallas. There's not a tremendous amount of entertainment options on the east side of Dallas. It's a very diverse community, not just Garland, but the surrounding suburbs that I think will really embrace this idea.
All right, go back to the Vegas thing, because you were talking about Vegas, and you're like, yeah, I thought about it, and then they weren't keen on it, but they were like Dallas. Go back to this whole Vegas window that you opened up for me.
I just never really dreamed of getting back into soccer, to be honest. I'd always want to. I have a son that's very active in the sport. He's 18-year-old and about to sign a contract in the USL. So that's exciting in and of itself. And when I heard of the opportunity to do it, it just really piqued my interest. And I thought, well, let me just go and explore it, and I'll figure out the details later. And so it wasn't necessarily the right idea for me to try to own and run a team in Las Vegas when I live in Dallas without, really, because USL, they're very community grassroots teams. And so you need to be in the community. And so that would be hard for me. So I jumped at the idea of Dallas, and Dallas has 8 million people, and FC Dallas, they're pioneers here, and we couldn't do this without them. They've done a tremendous job in growing the sport locally, especially on the youth side. But they're 35 miles north of downtown Dallas. And so it's a huge community, and hopefully we can align. I feel like there's plenty of room for both of us.
When it came to deciding about going into the USL specifically, there are a lot of leagues out there. There is an alphabet soup. When it came to deciding why you wanted to have conversations with Justin Papadakis and everybody at the USL office, what put them at the front of the line for you as a chairman and a founder when it came to a franchise?
I think they're very forward thinking. And I'm a soccer purist. Promotion relegation matters. I hope that's a thing one day in the USL. I think there's a lot of opportunity. The cost to enter into the USL is much different than the MLS. And the league had done some groundwork with the city of Garland already. The league had been working with them for well over a year. So there was a lot of ground that's already been plowed, and the city's very supportive. And so it seemed like all the stars were aligning at this point to make a run at it.
When it comes to facility, stadium, infrastructure, all these kinds of things, I know that there is, and this is a question that I ask all the owners and founders and chairmen and important folks when they start something like this. I know that you've got a to-do list. And I know that it's somewhere. It could be on a Google Doc. It could be, on your phone, like in the old days with a Palm Pilot. You sit there and you pull the stylus out. You write an idea. You jam the stylus back in. You file it away. You come back later. Or it could be on, as I'm staring at you right now, it could be on one of those big 8-foot by 10-foot whiteboards that's got a lot of lines and squiggles and directions and things. Where is this to-do list, and how stacked is it right now after this announcement?
It's really long. I have a great team in place we've been putting together. So I couldn't do it without all of them. But we have a very long to-do list. We're in the middle of designing the stadium. We'll hopefully have plans finalized in 45, 60 days from a design standpoint.
Okay.
We have site plans. We're pretty far along. We'll announce the location probably in the next 90 days. You'll see renderings probably 60 days after that. We're going to do our brand release mid part of 2025. So there's a lot to do. But the facility is really important for us.
How much homework? I mean, this seems like something where you want to sit there. It's like, okay, I've got to do this today, this today, this today, and this today. What's it like having all of this homework that you have to have ready in the next 6 months before this final exam kicks
off? It's I try not to look at it. It gets overwhelming. So it's just kind of one day at a time. And the funny thing is I'm working more now than I probably ever have in my life. But it's a passion project. So, I love it. It's easy to wake up each day and go to work on this. So I get super excited. The first game we have, it'll be emotional and just incredible to see something we're bringing to life.
Matt Valentine, chairman and founder at USL Dallas, hanging out with us here, batting leadoff on the morning show. So then what is your timetable for kicking things off where you have somebody walk a USL select soccer ball out to the middle of the pitch in Garland and have things happen for wins and losses? What's the timetable in
27? Okay. We'll start in 2027. I mean, obviously we'll have some events at our facility prior to that as a dry run, but we'll start playing in the 2027 season.
In the USL specifically, there is this idea of having venues, and you see it in USL League One a lot with Tormenta and Chattanooga and Greenville with what they now have online in Malden. The idea of the live, work, play element where you're in charge of all of the resources and everything there. Is that the plan that you're looking at for the facility in Garland?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
when it came to trying to build that idea out, how much thought went into this? How far back did this idea go when it came to the genesis of this whole thing?
So the genesis of the kind of live, work, play soccer stadium center development, I believe, started in 21. So before me, Garland's been working on this for quite a while. And every person in leadership roles behind it, supportive. The city council super supportive. In terms of my involvement, it didn't really start till November of 23. So it hasn't been that long. It's been 1 year, and I've dove in. I didn't really have a day job prior to this. So I've put all my resources and time and energy into this, and I've brought along one of my childhood best friends that I met at 12 years old on the soccer field. And he's been in sports marketing on the radio side, on the sports talk radio side for 20 plus years, and has myriad of contacts around the community. So, we've been scheming's the wrong word. We've been trying to figure out how to make this work for a long time. Well, for a year. It feels like a long time.
Well, and at the same time, you mentioned the all of the work that goes in and the passion that goes in. When it comes to your phone blowing up, say in the last 7 days,
yes,
how much has your phone blown up? I guess let me take it two separate ways. How has your phone blown up in the last 7 days? I'll ask you that.
Yeah, it's not my phone. It's like my social media accounts, which I'm not really active on social media. So I'm learning to pay attention to it. Just my LinkedIn and the amount of emails, which I don't really use LinkedIn either. So that's been my biggest challenge, making sure I check all my accounts. And, I'm 50 years old. I'm more a pen and paper, print things out, email. So I just kind of forward everyone, please send me emails. That will make it way easier. So, but it's been busy. Yeah, we've got a lot of things to do. The league is very supportive. I don't know if everyone knows, they have a huge staff of people that just handle expansion franchises. So they're wildly helpful, from everything from securing merchandise vendors and broadcasts and anything you can think of, helping with business plans, financing, whatever you need. They generally have staff that can help. They've been fantastic.
Are you comparing notes with other folks that are looking to get into USL in short order, whether it's Brooklyn or Milwaukee or OKC or Santa Barbara, Iowa, Jackson? Are you comparing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when this whole thing started, I was introduced to Matt Rosetta, who owns the Brooklyn franchise. And I haven't talked to him in a while, but he was very helpful right off the bat on pitfalls, what to look for, what he believes helps. And then, we're close with the Neal family who owns Dallas Trinity. So we obviously communicate with them regularly, and we've become close with the Texoma FC guys. So they're all local. We've spoken to some other ownership that's been in the league for a while. So all of that has been helpful. We're a friendly basis with the ex-CEO of Nottingham Forest. He's an American. We've been on the phone with him. He's been wildly helpful. So of course, I've never done this. I've never run a soccer club. So there's a learning curve, but I'm a passionate fan. I've been to lots of games overseas. I know what the environment I want to create in the stands. And I kind of feel like that if we do that right, put a good product on the field, everything else will work out.
With you and what Sam Morton are doing off the top and all of this, it's really important. What's the biggest thing that you've learned about doing something like this in the last 12 months? Could be something on the field, off the field, infrastructure, about sports in general. What's the biggest thing that you've learned about diving into this head first?
That's a great question. I think don't count your chickens before they hatch. There's a lot of moving parts in starting a pro sports franchise. And it's not just, if it was just the soccer side of it and hiring staff and doing the marketing, we can do that. I feel really confident on that part, that we're not going to miss on that. There's a lot of moving parts when it comes to the real estate, financing, infrastructure such as this and timing. And, we're working with the city, and Garland's fantastic. But I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years in small, lean organizations. And, we can move really fast and make really quick decisions. Cities don't.
Yeah.
And so that's been a little bit frustrating. I don't think anyone could move as fast as Garland's moved. They've been incredible. But even then, it's slower than what I'm used to.
What set Garland apart in your mind? Because there are 11 billion cities that make up the Metroplex. But what set them apart?
Their willingness and eagerness to do this. The city of Garland hasn't had anything exactly like this before. The diversity of their community. We've done a lot of demographic studies. Within 20 miles of our site, there'll be 3.4 million people. Within 10 miles of our sites, 1.4 million people. I mean, just as perspective, and this was brought up on the Third Degree podcast, there's 2.4 million people within 20 miles of FC Dallas Stadium. So we have a really good target base based on our location. The community Dallas Metroplex is also growing east a bit. Initially, it grew north. I mean, it's always grown west, but initially grew north and has continued to grow really far, 40 miles north of downtown. And there's still some room east. And so we do see growth coming our way.
If you could have one, and since we'll probably catch back up with you as things continue. Well, obviously, we will catch up with you as things continue to grow and evolve, but not until 25. If you could, on Christmas morning, open up a gift under the tree that Santa or USL Santa drops by under the USL Dallas Christmas tree. Doesn't matter what the size of the box is, because the box will contain whatever the gift is. If you get a gift from USL Santa or from Santa in general that has to do with the growth of this franchise at Christmas, what would you like that gift to be that you open up Christmas morning?
Jurgen Klopp. Yeah.
Oh, so are you a Liverpool guy?
I'm not. I'm a Chelsea guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a great coach.
That is not in dispute, sir. I will stipulate to that. So is that the kind of individual that you would like to have as your coach? Now, are you going to do coach/technical director? Are you going to have two separate?
We'll have two separate. I mean, we believe that the USL is a development place. No young kid really aspires to play in the USL. I mean, a young American kid aspires to go play in Europe. First and foremost, over the MLS, candidly. And so they aspire to go play in Europe, and we believe we're a place for development and a stepping stone. And so we're trying to build everything around that idea. So from our player facility, we're in the middle of designing, we want it to be first class as much as we can to help develop, but also coaches. I mean, we want a young, hungry coaches that are maybe not part of this U.S. soccer machine, if you will, that have their own voice and want to be creative, entertaining. I mean, first and foremost, we know we need to entertain our fans. Mm-hmm. So we view it as development. We want across our organization, across our club, everyone's kind of aspiring to that next level.
And I know that you're looking for a specific kind of individual that has what you're looking for in their DNA. When someone comes knocking on your door, yep, and goes to your LinkedIn account or goes to your or goes to your email, hey, I want to be a part of USL Dallas, on the field, off the field, whatever. I know you're looking for a specific kind of individual. Mm-hmm. What do you want in their DNA to help you out with your DNA?
Yeah, self-starters. I mean, that's really important. We need people that can, whether it's coach, whatever it may be, whether it's head of ticketing, head of operations, that can wear multiple hats. I mean, we're small. These are small organizations. And self-starters, I'm probably a terrible delegator. I like to just do my work and get it done. People that I can not even think twice about making sure things are done, and just upfront and direct. And I think if we all do that, we'll be successful. But it's hard to find.
And in lieu of taking Enzo Maresca from your beloved Chelsea, you want Jurgen Klopp under the Christmas tree.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
I completely and totally get it. Matt, it's great to see you. Great to catch up with you. Great to see what the announcement's been all about over the last 7 days. You know you have an open door policy. Anything else that's going on, knock on our door. We'll be more than happy to sit there and break bread with you and see what's going on. It's great to get the education about what's going on out there at USL Dallas. Start your day, sir, with all of the work that you've got to do. Thanks for dropping
thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
All right, that's Matt Valentine at USL Dallas. And like I said, and I told Matt early on, it's like, yeah, I tried to find the USL, I tried to find the Dallas Tornado shirt and make sure that, you know, we're talking Dallas. I find my Dallas Tornado shirt. Yes, I remember Kyle Rote Jr., all those kinds of things. So for me, the Dallas Tornado, it seemed like a nice entry point to make Matt feel at home. But yeah, as they continue to grow, evolve, and advance with what Sam Morton and with what Matt are doing, open door policy, they can come in and they can keep talking because they're looking at 27, but 27 is going to be here before they know it. We always talk to franchises that are new, you know, the NPSL franchises that we talk about, you know, that summer is summer and everybody's sitting there saying, yeah, oh, it's the summertime. Yeah, but no, summer's coming sooner than you think. 27 will be here sooner than you think. And to see what they're doing right now, they dropped into Garland, but no, thanks to Matt for the education. That was, and this was literally how I did. I tried to figure out how to contact Matt as best I could. And I reached out on LinkedIn. I'm trying to figure out and extrapolate what an email address was going to be, all these kinds of things, but we did get it figured out. But no, great to catch up with Matt and find out what's going on up there at, in Garland, Texas, suburban Dallas on the eastern side of the Metroplex, and find out what they're doing for the 27 season. Once again, the live work play dynamic in the USL, and so they're looking to join USL Championship for the 27 season. So looking forward to seeing what's going on there. That is opening kickoff, I guess. We'll go ahead and make that opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you. Man, I forgot to turn my light board on. For those of you that are hanging out with us, what you do, you hit that QR code. And then what you do, you go to Kickoff Coffee, kick off your day at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There you kick off your day. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it in youth games, youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So that is that's the early part there. Don't forget our relationship with our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co., where you can get this gear. Soccer is just better in Atlanta. You can get the hoodie. You can get the T-shirt. It's in red. It's in black. And we are cooperating and coordinating with our friends at Grady Baby. You can get the gear and help out middle school soccer in the Atlanta public school system. So you can help that. Get the gear, buy the gear, support APS and middle school soccer as we continue to try to grow the game as best we can. Great collaboration with our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. All right, so back here in the office, good morning, everybody. So Will apparently is driving from Huntsville to Houston, and you get to find out about USL Garland. Morning, Sharif. Morning, Alex. Morning, Harry. Harry getting his USL news early and late. Kaylor Hodges joining us at 10:30 Eastern time. Kaylor's bringing in his it's Kaylor's awards, so it's the Hodgeses. So it's the USL Show Awards before they give their postseason and senior superlatives. We'll find out what Kaylor thinks for his best 11 storylines of the year, surprises, disappointments, the whole thing. Now that we have a winner in the USL Championship, and it was Colorado Springs. So they are the ones that get to hold the title belt this year. Charleston wasting no time yesterday. They made some roster announcements as well. So we'll get into that and all of the other storylines that are there. So morning, Harry, morning, Sharif, morning, Alex, morning, everybody. And thanks for dropping by this morning. And once again, thanks to our friends at USL Dallas and Matt Valentine for dropping by and giving us a bit of an education as to what's going on there as the project heads toward 2027, Garland, Texas, eastern suburbs. And I thought it was really interesting where he was discussing what's going on with the Trinity and dropping Texoma's name as a part of this because of how things were going from one direction or another. And it was very, very cool. And so I'll email Matt later, but no, Matt, you did. Matt's like, and I don't think I'm breaking any fourth walls here. I hope he was able to give viewers a bit of the backstory. And and have a great Thanksgiving. But no, yes, having Jurgen Klopp under the Christmas tree for USL Dallas, that's funny. That's good stuff. But he wants Enzo Maresca to stay at Chelsea, being a Chelsea guy, but he'll take the Liverpool coach that is kind of hanging out with the national team and all those kinds of things, and with Red Bull. So we'll see what's going on with USL Dallas as they continue to go. Now, very, very cool stuff from Matt out there in suburban Dallas. Okay. Yesterday we talked about Atlanta United. We went through all of the post-game sound that we had. Later on this week at soccerdownhere.net, we will have a piece up on Dax McCarty. So I'm going to write that piece on Dax. That'll be up at soccerdownhere.net, and it will be about his last match and the last press conference that he had as a player for Atlanta United. And we're starting to see player movement. Remember, it is a 48-hour window after your season ends before you have to make decisions. So obviously we'll keep an eye on that and see where things land. You did on social media last night on the 280-character app, did see Jamal Tiare give a bit of a goodbye. Basically, it was, thank you, Atlanta, 13 hours ago. So that would have been like 8:30 last night. So Jamal posting on his 280-character app, basically a thank you for the 17s. So once again, we'll keep an eye on player movement, but that looks like one that we will add to the stacks when we come up with the decisions. We went through the roster yesterday and the decisions that needed to be made when it came to players and the 25 season. We do have the 2 DP spots that are open. And now you get into the front office decisions, and we'll see what Atlanta United has in mind there. Yesterday, in Vancouver, you had a decision about Vanni Sartini. And it was intriguing, to say the very least, that Vanni Sartini, someone who has been as ingrained in the fabric of Vancouver, is out the door. And it was stunning, to say the very least. So Vanni Sartini gone from coaching in Vancouver, where everyone was like, all right, what we need to do is we need to keep Vanni Sartini protected at all costs. So much for all costs. Steve Ewan at the province made the quick announcement after Tom Bogert broke the news on social media early in the day from our friends at GMS. Sartini had more playoff wins and can champ trophies than any other coach in team history. And when the Whitecaps fell short against LAFC, once again, this is Ewan's words, in the first round of this year's playoffs for the second season in a row, CEO Axel Schuster felt like it was time to move on from the popular coach. He said Monday afternoon, meaning Schuster, that's our business. Everything you've achieved last week doesn't matter for next week. It's unfortunately like that. That's something for the history books. Quote continues, we can always come together and celebrate those most amazing moments, but it's always about the next game or the next season's challenge. And the only thing that's driven me was really, do I have the belief that on the 14th of January, when we are all back on the pitch and start to train, do we have a group that's all of the anger and hunger and belief and energy? Is everyone coming back with the right energy level? And if not, you'd better find a solution now. That's obviously what drove my decision. It's better we finish on a high than wait until we maybe get to a low, where we then say, okay, that's a natural process in this business. I don't want to come to this point. I want to not to miss. That's kind of clunky. I want to not to miss the momentum. We can achieve what we achieved this year, or we can do the next step. And so that was the only thing that drove my decision. Sartini had been guiding the team since August of 21, took over the reins from the fired Mark Dos Santos. Came to the Whitecaps as an assistant coach in 19, director of methodology at the time the club split with Dos Santos. Finished 8th, 13-13 and 8 in the West. Won the wild card round against Portland. Remember, that was the game that was supposed to be at BC Place, but then got moved to Portland because BC Place had already been booked. And then they lose 1-0 in the final game of the opening round to LAFC. Final leg of the regular season, a 7-game winless run cost the Caps their spot in the top 4, set up a meeting with LAFC in the first round instead of deeper in the postseason. Vanni Sartini at the end of the season, quote, "To be good when it's not able for us to be very good, I think that's the next step. When we were in form or we had the possibility to work 1 week between games, we had the record that was probably top 3 in MLS. And then we had 2 parts of the season, one right before the summer and one right before the end of the regular season where we did 9 points in 11 games. When you can't shoot for the moon, you have to at least try to do the basics and go for the sky instead of falling down. It's a good learning lesson for the next year," end quote. Sartini helped the Caps qualify for the MLS Cup playoffs in 3 of his 4 seasons. 3 can champs, advanced from the group stage in the 23 and 24 Leagues Cups. 44, 40, and 32 in Major League Soccer. 57, 51, and 39 across all comps. Schuster said the search for a new head coach will begin immediately with no particular profile or person in mind. Schuster stated that in response to a question about the availability of Jim Curtin, recently fired by Philadelphia. Current coaching staff will remain for now, but Schuster also said the incoming head coach would also have the choice of forming his own staff. So that comes from Steve Ewan at the Vancouver Province. And that is the latest on Vanni Sartini. So Vanni Sartini out yesterday. And so now you wonder what's up with Vanni Sartini. So Sartini done. And this morning we get the news that came across on emails and social medias and all those kinds of things that Nick Cushing is out the door at NYCFC. See if we can track down Dylan Butler to talk about this tomorrow. So here is the wording. Once again, we'll go back to the wording of Glenn Crooks after we go through the release that was given by NYCFC very early this morning. NYCFC has announced today that the club has parted company with head coach Nick Cushing. Cushing's departure comes after guiding the team to a 6th-place finish and an Audi 2024 MLS Cup Playoffs Eastern Conference semifinal appearance this season. Sporting Director David Lee, quote, "We would like to thank Nick for his incredible dedication to the club and this city. During his time at the New York City FC, Nick has been a true professional, playing an important role in delivering the club's first MLS Cup as an assistant coach and then leading to the team as an interim head coach to a Campeones Cup victory in 2022. After being appointed as head coach for the 23 season, Nick built a collaborative, high-performance environment at the training facility that has allowed us to continue to evolve as an organization." That's from Sporting Director David Lee. Quote continues, Whilst we are incredibly appreciative for all he has done for the club at this current time, we believe it's best to move the team in a new direction as we plan for the 25 season and beyond. We would like to sincerely thank Nick for his contributions, wish him and his family all the very best in their future endeavors," end quote. Following Cushing's departure from NYCFC, the club will begin their search for a new head coach ahead of the start of the 25 season. Cushing is appointed as the club's interim in June of 22. In that role, 3rd-place finish Eastern Conference, run to the finals. Cushing has been an important part of City Football Group for almost 2 decades, initially joining the organization in 2006. Progressed through the ranks as a coach in the Manchester City Academy before being appointed as the manager of Manchester City's women's team in 2013. Cushing quickly became one of the most decorated coaches in the women's game, leading the team to an impressive 6 trophies. CEO Brad Sims had a quote, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our fans for their unrivaled support throughout the year. We set ourselves the highest possible standards and targets each season. We're already fully focused on preparations for the 25. So, but Sims did say something positive in the sentence previous. That was just the end of his sentence. So, two availabilities that were not there in the last 24 hours involving Vancouver now and NYCFC. So, yes, it does make you wonder what the conversations were in these two environments with their coaches. It makes you wonder. And big thanks, USL Dallas, to all of you for letting Matt come and hang out with us this morning. So it does make you wonder. It makes you wonder. So if Vanni Sartini, who was beloved in Vancouver, beloved by our own Nick Leafy, and as much as Vanni Sartini embraced Canadian culture and Vancouver specifically, I mean, the guy wore Terry Fox T-shirts on the sidelines to show you how ingrained he became in that community and how much he was beloved in that community. Understood it. He got it. But you now have a situation where Axel Schuster and Vanni Sartini, for whatever reason, like I said, we don't have any of the in-depthness in trying to figure out, okay, what's the deal? What happened here? The behind-the-scenes stuff, we don't know. Why did it happen? Was it just untenable? Axel Schuster sitting there and saying, I think we're done. Was it something like that? It's like if you have those runs. J.J. Adams in his column at the Province, by the way. Vanni Sartini is many things: a professional coach, an educator, an outspoken socialist, an unabashed fan of the beautiful game, and a passionate leader whose style and personality can both polarize and galvanize. New on the list, according to J.J. Adams, scapegoat. Pushed their head coach out the door on Monday with a year remaining on his contract. That's another element in all of this. He had another year left on his deal. Just a few weeks after losing to LAFC. After Tommy Scoops broke the news, according to J.J. Adams, Axel Schuster rushed straight from an international flight at Vancouver's airport to hold a presser at the training facility to explain the decision. It wasn't that Sartini hadn't gotten the team past LAFC. It was because of the games he had yet to coach, according to Adams. Quote. And, Abby, that's the other thing we got to talk about, too. Quote, Schuster. The decision was really made on how will our preseason look like and what kind of energy and mindset we will go into the first game of next season. Schuster said when asked if Sartini would still be employed had they not lost their series with LA. Winning against LAFC and maybe winning the conference could have changed that or not. I don't know. But it wasn't really that game. The game, that game. So Schuster, in his press conference yesterday, hurriedly called press conference after Tommy Scoops broke the news. He's like, maybe, maybe not. Don't know. Could be, perhaps. It has nothing to do with the outcome of last year, to be very clear. That's a clear statement. So Schuster is taking last year that ended in the first round a week ago in the 3-game series with LAFC and says that ain't it. That's a clear statement, he continues. This decision has nothing to do with the outcome of last year, although we all agree, including Vanny, we felt like we haven't gotten to the outcome we wanted. It's only about our belief where we can get next year and how we will start into next year. Adams continued, with questions being fired at him scattergun. Schuster's messaging veered from point to point and occasionally contradictory. Vanny didn't do anything wrong, did everything they asked, but it comes down to wins and losses. Last season's results have nothing to do about it. It was more about energy and how we start next season. J.J. Adams got it. Schuster spoke for more than an hour in his non-native English. Joked he'd have more words to thank Sartini if he was speaking German, but it was hard to crystallize his long-winded answers into something easily understood, probably because the decision isn't easily understood. Whitecaps managed to break through from time to time in the Vancouver market. It was all about Sartini's quotability and personality. It's not something anyone can replicate. Indeed, Schuster said it wasn't going to be a quality they would search out in a head coach, and Monday's presser lacked La Joya that came with Sartini. As far as on-field results, while Sartini delivered, the team believes a new manager could do more, but as far as breaking through in a tough promotional ecosphere, Sartini stood apart. So it seems coach who happened to be the most successful in team history wasn't good enough for the final year of his contract. Solution to the team's shortcomings was to fire him 2 days before the deadline for decisions on player options and 2 weeks before MLS free agency begins, all while saying you have no specific replacement in mind, no timeline to fill the spot, and the new coach will have to make do with the team he inherits. J.J. Adams got it. No specific tipping point that led to a decision, one which Schuster came to after many talks with players and staff, but while it didn't seal his fate, 7-game winless swoon to close out the season set the stage. That meant a top 4 finish, which seemed almost certain as September came into its final weeks, was gone. Meant a play-in game on the road because of circumstance instead of a more favorable first-round matchup than one with the reigning conference champs. A quality performance wasn't enough against LAFC. Sartini's quality was deemed insufficient for their needs. 7 men have been head coaches of the Whitecaps in Major League Soccer, according to Adams. All 7, 2 of them with interim tags, have failed to reach whatever unspoken goals have been set for them, which leads us to ownership. Jeff Mallett actually attends some important games. Steve Nash pokes his head in occasionally, but Greg Kerfoot has yet to meet with the media in modern Caps history. The impression this ambivalence leaves is what the Whitecaps are more an investment vehicle rather than a cherished possession. Spending isn't a roadmap to success, but it does indicate one's investment in it. Vancouver's now mid-table in spending with Ryan Gauld and the acquisition of Stuart Armstrong. We'll get into that in a second. First time they've been that high in years, but historically, has ownership given their team what they need? The question put Schuster into silence for a few moments on Monday before he said, quote, "This is a very complicated question. Was there ever a moment where I thought like, okay, we haven't got everything, but that's not our approach. This is not the reason. This is true. And this is why the socialist coach they just fired worked so well in the role. It was about the team as an entity, not a high-priced player or two. You had stars, but they were working-class DPs. The Whitecaps always admired a team like the Philadelphia Union, which is known for high-table finishes on a low-end budget and developing domestic talent through a strong academy program." And this is where Adams leans into Jim Curtin as an idea. Schuster wasn't ready to talk names or even profiles. "I have no timeline because I haven't prepared for this scenario." So Tom Bogert on social media says Sartini is out. Axel Schuster lands from his flight into Vancouver, has to call a press conference, and says, "I have no timeline because I haven't prepared for this scenario. I'm not starting to speak with 5 coaches and see what's out in the market. Then I'd make this decision. I really haven't spent all my energy in analyzing the situation, in getting to solution." This reminds me of Minnesota United. Quote, "We need a coach at the moment we start to train, that's for sure. But I think urgency is never a good advisor, so I don't want to be driven by urgency. The club culture and the club is the driver of everything, and in this way you build consistency. And so we have to find somebody who fits the culture and to what we have built here." And then J.J. Adams has a lot of some of Sartini's best quotes, which are immeasurably brilliant. So here's the Vancouver situation. We'll get into Alyssa Nair coming up in a sec. Club options on Bendik, Bomer, Deber Caicedo, Fafa Pico, who they probably need to pick up, Schilpf, Takaoka, who they probably need to pick up, Levante Johnson, JC Ngando, Ralph Priso, and Bonge, the supplementals. But they've got a lot that are guaranteed. Their DPs are guaranteed this season and next. Stuart Armstrong, Andres Kubas, and Ryan Gauld. This season and next, 25 and 26. Guaranteed, Armstrong, Bodwall, Florio Chateau, Alboni, Ocampo, Ali Ahmed, Max Anchor, Bovalina, Brian White, Pedro Vite, Veselinovic, Bjorn Inge Utvik, Matthias Laborda, Demir Krylak, our favorite Bond villain, Thomas Hasel, Ryan Gauld, Andres Kubas, Tristan Blackman, Sebastian Berhalter, Sam Adekubi. So you have in this list of 29, you have a handful that have club options. 3, 6, 9 that have club options. And the 2024 spend for Vancouver, 14th, a little over $18 million in total cap allocations. So that's where Spot Track is involving Vancouver. NYC, with Nick Cushing gone, $22, $27, $32. 2 designated players. Thiago Martins, Santi Rodriguez. Guaranteed for 25. So what you're looking at for NYC, $16 million for in total cap allocations, 24th in the overall. This season, or coming up to 25, since that's where we have to talk now. Club options on Thiago Andrade, Luis Barraza, Owusu, Hope Gund, Tomas Romero, Alex Rando. So 5 of the 31 have club options. Everybody else is guaranteed for 25. A lot of the familiar names, Julian Fernandez, the U22, guaranteed for 3 more years. Talis Magnos on loan until June as a young DP. Thiago Martins, Mijedovic, Agustino Heda, Keaton Parks, Santi Rodriguez, James Sands, Hannes Wolf, Justin Hack is your homegrown. All of them are guaranteed for 25. There's only a handful of players that do not have homegrown stuff for options for 25. Not a whole lot. So most of the roster at NYC is going to be the same. So we'll keep an eye on that. Also, let's see. Where did I skip here? Yes, Ram, good morning, as always. And, no, USL Dallas, thanks for letting us have Matt come on and hang out with us here on the morning show for a little bit. Yes, John is back to home base, David. We'll get into that. That might be opening kickoff to start hour number 2. We'll get into that. Yep, and Abby, I had this conversation. Abby says, funny how yesterday we were talking about USWNT goalies and then Alyssa Nair decided to retire. We'll get into Alyssa Nair and her career in just a bit. But, yeah, it was ironic as I was heading to the airport. This gets announced with Alyssa Nair that she's done after these next 2 matches. As we were discussing with Bart yesterday on the show, why certain keepers were a part of the player pool. I called Bart up as I was driving to the airport. Hey, we've got our answer. So keep an eye out for the new Soccer for US POD. They had a rundown. They had a rundown. And then they didn't. Rundown got blown up, wadded up, and thrown into the garbage. Alyssa Nair is retiring from national team duty, and her numbers are staggering. Staggering. And Alex, to your point, yes. I know that this time of year specifically, we kind of kind of jump to we do jump when folks say things on social media. We do openly jump in these situations. And that what my first my first inclination, because there is a club option for 25, is to go in that direction, considering that we have we have until tonight at 7:30 is the end of the 48-hour window, I believe. So 72 hours, 48 hours is tonight at 7:30, 72 hours is tomorrow night at 7:30. So you've got to have some decisions coming in and figure out what's going on. Remember, the situation for Atlanta is that you have senior rosters, Amador guaranteed, Cohen guaranteed, Franco Ibarra, U22, club option for 25. We know where that's going to go. Brooks, who will not start the season in training camp because of his injury recovery. Miranchuk, Mosqueda, guaranteed for 25. Shande guaranteed. Bart Sleesh guaranteed through 28. Jamal is a club option. Derek Williams is guaranteed for one more year before a club option. Supplementals guaranteed. Brennan, Cobb, Firmino. Efra has a club option for 25. Tyler Wolf has a club option for 25. Aiden Torres is guaranteed. Efra has, by the way, club options for 25 and 26. Abram guaranteed for 25. Centeno and Jay Fortune club options for 25 and 26. Stian Gregerson guaranteed through 27, club option for 28. Gazan club option for 25, as is Ronald and Dax, but we know Dax. And Santi Sosa, but we know about Santi Sosa. By the way, Santi Sosa wins a trophy. For those of you that might have had the chance to see the photo. Guaranteed Saba, 25 and 6. Muyumba, 25 and 26. And once again, remember, Stian's the only DP currently on the books, 25, 6, and 7. U22 initiatives, Franco, club option. Santi, club option. Mosqueda, guaranteed for 25, club option for 26. And remember, in all of these situations, this is our traditional caveat when you have all of the contracts available and you sit there and you see someone with contract years that are guaranteed down the line past 1 year. Remember, my point of view has always been that you're controlling the asset. We'll go back to Matt Valentine and his beloved Chelsea. Chelsea, remember, they would sign like Mikhailo Mudryk to the 8-year deal for $64 million, and then you could take the $64 million and you can spread it out over the life of the deal. So it only affected you $8 million per season that you signed Mikhailo Mudryk for. But what that does is it keeps that particular player under your care, under your analysis, under your availability at the card table for however long the deal is. Just because someone's under contract for however many years does not mean that they will be at that location for however many years that contract says. But you can control the asset in that situation. So keep that in mind when you're looking at players and teams and contracts and things like that. Not just domestically, but internationally, or not just internationally, but domestically. I think we have to look at things where we sit there and we look at contracts. He signed a 5-year deal. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if he's not blowing the doors off of the league that player is in, that he won't be blowing the doors off for somebody else if you can flip a player and make a fortune. By the way, speaking of players, Caleb Wiley came back this past weekend and got the start for Strasbourg and played the first 45 minutes for Strasbourg in their Ligue 1 match on the weekend. So Caleb on the way back from injury, getting the opportunities with Liam Rossignol and RC Strasbourg Alsace in Ligue 1. And by the way, you know that you can keep an eye on Caleb Wiley at Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. And what you can do there is you can watch Ligue 1 with all the BNs. You can watch the Turkish League. You can watch AFCON. You can watch all the things with all the BNs that they have. plus LPF, South America, CONMEBOL, which they do at pay-per-view, and they charge astronomical rates. I imagine that they make an absolute killing with all of that stuff. And you can get CDO for the fans, Nuestra Tele, Liga 1 Max, Liga 1 Max Pro, our buddy Nino Torres at Gold TV. So you have all of that at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps them out at Fanatis, helps us out here at the network, helps you out with being a true degenerate when it comes to the sport of soccer. Jason got me hooked. I blame him. So Abby is kind of extrapolating as I was as well. David, if we walk into next year with Miranchuk, Muyumba, Fortune, and Sleesh as our central midfield, are we okay with that, assuming that they pick up the Fortune option? I mean, I would be with. I think that when you look at that, I think that what you ask of Tristan with whomever the new head coach is, Tristan within whatever the system is and whatever the demands are. Does Tristan want to? Tristan at times wants to be more offensive based as a midfielder than defensively, but he will run his what off for you. Miranchuk under contract. You've spent all of the money on him. You see what Miranchuk can be. He finally gets an off season, by the way. And this is the other thing, that when you bring in players, we saw this with Saba too when Saba was brought in. You bring in players from the European theater, and they're going to be just hauling ass. They don't get a break. Alexei Miranchuk finally gets a break. Bart Sleesh finally gets a break. And they can come back somewhat, they'll have their cups of coffee with international duty and things like that, but they finally get that to catch their breath a little bit. So Miranchuk, Fortune, and you better sign Jay Fortune. But remember, club options this year and next. Same for Efren Morales. So Jay, by the way, let me get into the salary figures as it was posted for Atlanta United. Once again, this is from our friends at Spot Track. Atlanta 10th in salary, in cap allocations, just under $20 million. For the supplementals, which Jay was making rookie league min, 71,401. Base and guaranteed. That's what, as a homegrown, that's what he was making. Luke, Nick, Jay Fortune, Aiden Torres, as homegrowns in the supplemental spots, they were all making the league rookie min at 71,401. You would anticipate that a new contract would give that a bit of a bump. I'm just saying. Dead money in 24. Giacomakis, Almada, Wiley, and Aiden McFadden, who got sold on. So, roster summary, the senior roster, $14 million for 20th on in the league. Non-active, 168. And then dead money, third in dead money, with the departures of Giacomakis, Almada, Wiley, and McFadden. $4,721,000, a little more than that. Third in the league in dead money for players outbound. Miranchuk, base of 2.4, made 3.6. Stian, base of $1 million, made 1.1, 1,120,000. Everybody else made under $1 million. Guaranteed salary, Saba literally just under $1 million. Luis Abram at 872. Bart at 830. Santi Sosa, once again, last year of his deal, 778. Brooks Lennon at 740. Franco Ibarra last year in his U22 at 660. Brad made 612.5. Be interesting to see where that stacks up with other keepers in the league. Shonday, 604 and a quarter. Jamal, 595. Tristan, 566. Ronald, 450. Derek Williams, 447.5. And this is full. This is salary plus everything. Mosqueda at 437. Josh Cohen at 303. Dax, 256 and a quarter. Pedro Amador, base salary of 207. Pedro made 242 this year. Daniel Rios, league veteran, Veteran men at 89, 716. He and Quentin Westberg. Daniel Rios made 126. Quentin Westberg made 109, almost 110. Tyler Wolf as a supplemental homegrown at 154. Efra just under 98. Noah just under 90. Luke, Nick, Jay, Aiden Torres at rookie league min at 71.4. We talked about Centeno at 96 and Matt Edwards at 71 and the dead money. So that's where it all lays out. So that's your salary figures for Atlanta United going into the 25 season. Coming out of the 24 season is probably the more accurate. David's Tristan issues, past decisions at times, put teammates in jail, put some turnovers out there in bad parts of the field. So, well, once again, when you see a contract length that's just to control the asset, that is not anything to do with the individual itself and keeping them, it could, but remember at the same time, it's to control an asset for the length of a contract. In case someone is interested in, I like this individual. Hey, what's he worth to you? And then you come up with an idea. So just that's your roster update and your salary update, where things stand from 24 as we go into 25. Remember, coming up next couple of days, end of season roster decisions. We'll keep an eye on all of that and see if anyone else on social media says what they wish to say on social media. So we'll see and keep an eye on that. All right, hour number 2. We've officially cleared an hour. And I guess this technically would be opening kickoff for hour number 2. So that we'll go here once again. Our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So my thought in all of this, I was going to mention the airport. And I think that we get really spoiled. We got breaking news out of St. Louis, by the way. Really spoiled with the airport that we have here in Atlanta. I don't know how many of you went down to Central Florida to see the match. But going into, and I know that some of you drove, some of you took the bus. We did see some of you fly on the plane. For those that flew on the plane to go down to Central Florida, Orlando's airport is like navigating one of the nastiest mazes you could ever try to navigate. Nick made the point to reference, like I said, we'll get to Alyssa and Air coming up in just a bit, and the news out of St. Louis. Nick made the point to remind us as we were trying to leave. Nick, I think, put the fear of God into Maddie Monday morning because Nick had half a mind to leave at 6 a.m. for a 10:30 flight. The fear of God he put in Maddie. I think they ended up leaving about 7:30, and it wasn't too bad for them to get to the airport because they didn't have to return a rental car. When you return a rental car it's still in the swamps. It is still basically hopscotching the solid ground in the swamps. And because Abby was asking if the airport is still in the middle of nowhere. But no, it is still out. It is still in the swamp. But when you get to this, when you're at this airport here in Atlanta, rental car, return, pickup, one location. For Orlando to navigate into whatever terminal you're going to, in premise, it's a great idea. What they have for you, they have rental car return for each terminal. That's a fantastic idea. Because if you're not flying Delta, which is Terminal B, and you're flying, all the like the internationals, I think, go out of A, and then C has like domestics and things like that. But you're flying Delta, you fly out of B. It is a brilliant idea to have rental car return attached to your terminal. So literally, if you rented a car and you're flying out, say, Avianca or Alianza or Virgin Atlantic or whatever, and you're in Terminal A, you go to Terminal A and you return your rental car. That's a great idea. It's a fantastic idea. I love that. But the problem is that getting to your terminal, you don't know if you're going down the right road. And there are times where it's like, okay, and if you've never been, then a first timer like myself, I am wondering if I'm traveling down the right road. Did I do the right thing? It took me going past Terminal A to realize that rental car return for each terminal existed. No kidding. It took me past, I was wondering if I was going the right direction, and I'm outside the lanes to get into Terminal A. And I was flying Terminal B, don't get me wrong. But it took me to get past Terminal A to understand, oh, I can go to my terminal and still drop off my rental car independently. It's a great idea. That's step number one. Just asking for better signage. That's all I want. I just want better signage at MCO for my rental car. Put up a sign, something that says, flights correspond to rental car drop-off and pickup. Basically, however you want to put it into a sign, that if you've got Terminal A and you've got a rental car, you're good. Go to Terminal A. Drop it off there. You got Terminal B and you got a rental car, you're flying out of Terminal B, you're good, go to Terminal B. You're going to Terminal C, same thing. Then you need an extra 25 or 30 minutes, because when you check in, and I don't know if this is normal or not, but I got to the airport after dropping off the rental car at the terminal. I got into the terminal 2 hours before the plane was to depart. It literally took me that first hour to check in one bag. I don't know if it was because the airline was swamped or what. But literally there were 50 or 60 people in line in front of me to check in a bag, just to drop off, just go bag drop off. 60 people, swear to God, no lie. And the line wasn't moving. Like I said, I don't know if it was just people not knowing what they were doing. Well, and holiday week, true, Abby, yes. On a Monday, though? On a Monday? Then I would just suggest to said airport, to any airport, if there was a universality attached to it, have more personnel. Know that it's a holiday week and have more personnel. Literally, I was at the end of the line to get into bag drop, and all I wanted to do is drop off my bag. I checked in, everything's fine. Whatever divine being you believe in, bless the woman that was there at the beginning of that particular maze to go drop off a bag. Like I said, I checked in and I dropped off my bag. But the woman who was at the front of the maze said, go downstairs and go and check in at the group desk. I still stood in line for another 15 or 20 minutes as opposed to an hour, but that did help. Literally, it was downstairs and in a dark corner. God bless Olga, because she was the one who was orchestrating all this stuff, and she's like, "Man, I'm supposed to be shutting this down at 4 o'clock. I'm done in 10 minutes." And they keep sending me people. So I don't know after I checked in if Olga got out at 4 or not. But literally, the woman who was at the front of the maze said, go downstairs and go into this dark corner. That worked. And then you have to get on a shuttle to go to the concourse, to go to your gate. Because they had, the 70s had their own shuttle. The 70s were landlocked. Or 60s were landlocked. You go to 70s, you had to get on a shuttle and go different direction entirely. Same with 80s. I think the 80s had their own shuttle. It's like you got to go shuttle, and then you had to go to like these tentacles that were outside. So you had to book time for that. So, lesson learned by me, having never flown out of the Orlando airport, the amount of time that I took was about right. Leave an extra hour into your travel plans if you are going to and through Orlando. No, I didn't see any. I didn't see any curbside check-in, Abby. I really didn't. I really didn't. Rich says, "Don't you check in the car first, then take the shuttle to the airport? Always need to get to the airport early." Rich is a 3 to 4 hour airport guy. Yeah, I checked the car in first, but I mean, just the notion that, like at Hartsfield, say, rental car is in one location, and then you take a shuttle to the concourse. You take a shuttle to the main terminal. In Orlando, they have, like I said, this was fantastic. I love this, that you had rental car return for each concourse, and then you were right there. You just go into the tunnel and go to the concourse B, and you're good to go. That was fantastic. Just the access of figuring out if you're doing the right thing was my problem. And leaving the extra hour early, that was a big thing for me too. So I've learned that now about the Orlando airport. Still in the swamps. Still has its own tentacles compared for each gate and everything. And then you travel and then we also had like a 25-minute hold on the runway yesterday before we were allowed to leave. And I don't know if that was just traffic coming back home or not. But I'm asking the folks at MCO, improve your signage a little bit for those of us that have never been. But I love the idea of dropping off the rental cars in each concourse. I love that idea. And on a holiday week, have more personnel so it doesn't look like literally people rushing into a Taylor Swift general admission concert. That was pretty big. Abby says it's like being a supporter of other teams. Hold before you are allowed to leave. Yeah, the Orlando Airport monorail. Yes. I mean, literally, you're in the main terminal, you check in, and then you figure out what gate you're going to. Some of them are landlocked into that first thing, into the terminal where you are, the main terminal. But then for a lot of the gates in like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s up to like 108 or whatever, you've got to get on the monorails and go to those particular tentacles. So that was the adventure that I had. But I have learned, get there an hour before you normally get there when it comes to your travel. That was my biggest thing. Kudos for having the individual concourse drop off for your rental cars. Just asking for better signage. And then once again, asking for more people, which would help out everybody during this kind of a week. So that's where we are with that. So that was traveling with John and the adventures of it. Oh, by the way, I ended up getting a Dodge Charger. I go, and I don't know how you guys are when it comes to rental cars. But what I do is I ask for, it's like, just give me a Nissan Sentra, give me a Honda Accord, give me something 4 doors, give me a Maxima or whatever, and then go from there. I didn't get that because obviously everybody else wanted the same thing too. And they ended up giving me a Dodge Charger. So imagine me driving a Dodge Charger. Adventures in driving. I mean, V8 engine, you sit there, you punch it, and it goes. And I'm still trying to figure out the whole toll system, too. It's just like, I thought that you were supposed to stop and hand the money off in cash to an individual who's at the gate. But if they didn't have an individual at the gate, I guess you just kept driving. And that's what I figured out. Nick told me, it's like, no, just keep driving. That's what the thing on your windshield is for. So, yeah. That was the other part of the adventure. Was trying to figure out, okay, just keep driving with Easy Pass or whatever, and they'll bill me later for the $4 in tolls that I had accrued. But yeah, that was the other part of the adventure for all of that. So, yeah. Me and a Dodge Charger, something that you never would have thought was going to be a part of anything and everything. So that was the elements of all of that. We mentioned ins and outs and roster moves and things like that. Yesterday, New England came out with their moves, and I know we also have to talk about a listen there. But I want to save most of that conversation for Bart so you can listen to the Soccer for US POD. Revs have 6 defenders under contract after giving up 74 goals last season. Arriaga, Mensah, and Parker no longer on the books. Same for fullback Nick Lima. Declined the option for Dylan Barrero. U22 initiative, 6-6 in 37 matches. Tore his ACL in 23 before returning in April. 21 players under contract. Re-exercised Boateng by Earl Edwards, Andrew Farrell, who's going to also be double duty as a coach in the academy system, and Will Sands. Declined Arriaga, Bulma, Barrero, Nacho Heel, Tommy Mack, and Jonathan Mensah out of contract. Nick Lima, Tim Parker, Damian Rivera, Ryan Spalding, Bobby Wood. Charlotte, once again, retained most of their roster. One notable exit, Pep Beal, and they're trying to figure out with a DP spot. He was 2 + 3 in 11. He could return on a non-DP deal, but the expectation is also that Charlotte could be chasing after a high-value number 10. We mentioned the news out of St. Louis, so that means that we have to do this, and I have to figure out where I am with all of my noises and everything. But, yeah, we have to do this. All Caps has a new head coach. Aston Villa legend and previous Swedish national team captain Olaf Mellberg brings 5+ years of managerial experience from Scandinavia. John Hackworth was interested. City went another direction. Mellberg named St. Louis City SC's second ever head coach pending receipt of his P1 visa. Mellberg brings 5 years of Scandinavian head coach experience, primarily from Sweden, where he demonstrated an ability to deliver results above expectations. Sorry, I didn't hit it on loop. That's on me. So there we go. On loop finally. Quoting Mellberg, "I'm excited to join St. Louis as the head coach. It's a great opportunity here because of the amazing infrastructure and the direction that the organization has put in place. I can't wait to build upon the foundation already set here and the massive fan support that gives the team the energy to be this successful." Mellberg began his managerial career in 2016 at IF Brommapojkarna, a club in the outskirts of Stockholm. It took me a couple of times to remember that one. Brommapojkarna has a strong reputation for youth development, boasts the largest academy in Europe, nearly 250 teams and 3,000 players. Took charge of the team in Etan, Sweden's third division, and successfully led Brommapojkarna to back-to-back promotions in 16 and 17, winning the title in each division each year to bring the club back to the Allsvenskan, the top division in Sweden. Over the course of the 2 seasons, side averaged 2.2 points a match, 140 scored, 58 allowed. Mellberg then took some time to complete his coaching license, which included acting as head coach of Danish Superligaen first division club BK Fremad Amager for 8 matches. Returned to Sweden to coach Helsingborgs for a season and a half. Rejoined Brommapojkarna in January of 2023. Team has competed in Sweden's top division during both of those years with a 10th place finish each year. 10th place finish is the club's highest table position since it began competing at the top division, and it's the first time that the club will be spending 3 consecutive years in the top division. Diego Giuliani, president and GM of City SC. After careful consideration, we're thrilled to welcome Olaf as our new head coach, confident he'll be a great fit for St. Louis City SC. Across his 4 years as a head coach at Brommapojkarna, shown a consistent ability to outperform expectations and get results. Furthermore, his passion for developing young players, strong reputation in the market, and prior playing experience at the elite level of sport were all additional reasons convinced he was right for the role. And they tip their hat to John Hackworth. Pfannenstiel quotes incredible work ethic, reputation for being disciplined and detail-oriented. His leadership qualities as a captain, both at the highest club level and with national team, will key to be managing our group. Ability to develop young talent seen at his Swedish club. Can't wait to see where it translates here in St. Louis. Played as a center back. Big, strong, exceptional in the air. Villa, Juve, Olympiacos, Villarreal. Prominent playing for Villa, 232 matches, 8 goals for Villa. For his national team, a 12-year run with Sweden. Clipsed over 100 caps and 8 goals as a defender. Featured in 4 UEFA Championships, 2 FIFA World Cups. So, Olaf Mellberg, second ever head coach, third coach in the overall. Bradley Carnell gets results in year 1, first time through the batting order. Then come back. They had the start they had last year, and Carnell got sent into the vapor lock quickly. John Hackworth was the interim, finished the season. And now you bring in Olaf Mellberg to be the new head coach for St. Louis City SC for his time, most of it, at a joint called Brommapojkarna in the outskirts of Stockholm. And so Olaf Mellberg, the new head coach in St. Louis. Because, okay, I honestly would like to know. I would love to know. I'd like to know. I'd love to know. I really would like to know the thought process here. Really would like to know. What went into this? Because it is not a location that you sit there and you go, I think what I'll do is I will chase after this. I'm going to chase after this guy, and this guy. So where is he? Where's he a coach? He's in Sweden. Where? Brommapojkarna. I legitimately, for the first time in all of these discussions, when Olaf Mellberg's name was mentioned last week, that's the first time I'd heard of Brommapojkarna. But Mellberg apparently fits the dynamic for what they want to do when it comes to developing young talent. And my guess is, since we're on a roll this morning, we'll go ahead. I want to check. I want to see what the situation is in St. Louis when it comes to cap and availabilities, since we're on this road this morning. Kaylor Hodges joining us in about 10 minutes. 27th in the league in total cap allocations last season at just over $16 million. You had 6 players make over $1 million in guaranteed salary. Berkey, Klaus, and Lewin, your 3 designated players. 3 of your 4 TAM players, Nielsen, Tukert, and Kessler. Thomas Osterak was your 4th TAM at 801. Chris Durkin at your U22. And now here's where the drop-off is. Guaranteed salary, you had the 6 players that make over $1 million. Berkey, Klaus, Lewin, Nielsen, Tukert, and Henry Kessler. Thomas Osterak made 801. Your next highest paid player for City last year was Chris Durkin at under $500,000 a year. So literally it is, we're going to invest in 6 dudes. Our 3 DPs we're going to pay. Most of our TAM guys we're going to pay. Then the rest of you're going to be pieces that we fit in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in between 300 and 400,000. 1, 2, 3 in between 200 and 300. Kyle Hebert and Ben Lunt, 188 and 137. Josh Yarrow, 89, 716. Pompeu came in as a supplemental, but he was only making less than 200,000. Glover, Watts, Jose Kojima, Christian Oliveras, Miguel Perez, Jaden Reed, all making, Caden Glover made 95,000. Akil Watts, Kojima, Oliveras, Reed, Perez, and Reed, a rookie league minimum 71,401 or slightly more than that. Then you had non-actives in guaranteed salary. Marcel Hartel, who was injured, he was the most expensive guy on the roster, by the way, just over $2 million. Giannis Horn, Gerdward Reich, Bashir, Klein, Pearson, Wenzel. 2 of those 6 made 71,401. Your league vet, your league rookie men, and Nicholas Dyer is dead money because he got released. Senior roster 25th in roster money, 11.8. 4th in non-actives at 3.2. 19th in dead money at 309,000, and that was the Dyer dismissal. Your 4 DPs making 1.3 to 2.1. Your U22 initiatives, Durkin made 495, Girdwood Reich at 304, and Isak Jensen at 228 and a quarter. 16,022, 27th in the league in salary. So I'm guessing that Mellberg ain't going to have a whole lot of money to work with. Abby, thank you for dropping by. Here's how it looks for them positionally. 31 on the roster right now. Club options and a loan for only 2 players. Giannis Horn is on loan until June. Jabu Blom is a club option for this year. Everybody else is a guaranteed salary. So basically, they went to Olaf Mellberg, and it's like, you got a lot of dudes that are in their last year of their guaranteed deals. 3, 5, 9. 9 players of the senior roster after next season are club options. Supplemental players have 4 club options after 25. 4 of the 7. 2 are guaranteed, and 1 only is guaranteed for this season. And then the non-actives, most of them are guaranteed for 25. And then there's a club option for Wenzel for 26. So a lot of the folks are in place for 25, and then you could get a roster go boom after 25 for City SC. Okay, so before Kaylor comes in, I wanted to talk about Alyssa Nair. And the numbers that she had were staggering. Alyssa Nair's numbers are ridiculous. In London with the U.S. team, matches against England November 30, the Netherlands in The Hague on December 3rd. Starting keeper for the 19 Women's World Cup champs, 24 Olympic gold medalist. Backstopped the USA to the 08 FIFA U20. First senior team cap, December 18, 2014. Goals against average of 0.5. All-time record for Alyssa Nair in 108 caps. 108 caps for the U.S. women's national team. 88, 6, and 14. She only lost 6 times in 108 matches between the sticks for the U.S. women's national team. And you know that they're going to have, she's going to play for the Chicago Stars during the 25. So if you want to go catch Alyssa Nair at the age of 36, go catch her in Chicago. My guess is they're probably going to have some kind of a big to-do for her there. 3rd place in all-time keeper caps at 113, starts at 110, wins at 88, shutouts at 68 behind Hope Solo and Brianna Scurry. Became a starting keeper in 17, earned a cap every year from 14 through 24. 4 world championships for Alyssa Nair, but 6 losses in her entire career for the U.S. women's national team. Christian Heritage, Youth Club, Yankee United, recruited to Penn State. NWSL, played in the WPS, played for the Boston Breakers. Turbine Potsdam, keeper of the year 2014, traded to the Red Stars in 2015. Quoting the release from U.S. Soccer, she achieved one of her life goals when her name was an answer in the New York Times crossword puzzle. That's a hell of a goal. To have that accomplished, that'd be fantastic. That's great. Love that. Bring in Kaylor Hodges for 10:30, 9:30. Kaylor, if you had your name in the New York Times crossword puzzle, would you consider it a life well lived?
I mean, yes, obviously. Granted, more people will probably be confused on what a Kaylor is, but it's fine.
True. Oh, man. but I mean, it was Alyssa Nair. I don't think that you run out of superlatives at points when you discuss Alyssa Nair and what she has meant to the program with the U.S. Women's National Team. You really do.
Absolutely.
All right, we brought you in for this go round to ask about Thanksgiving and what Thanksgiving is going to be at the Hodges household, the Casa de Kaylor. We'll ask that before we go.
Sure.
But what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about the USL Championship. I wanted to talk about the years in review for both leagues, League One and for the championship. I needed your MVPs, your starting 11s. This is where we go into the USL show yearbook.
Yes.
Do we have a yearbook title for the USL show?
No, we don't have a yearbook title, unfortunately, because I don't even know when our year starts because we do Super League stuff. So are we 2024, 2025, or what are we? I don't even know.
I know. That's why it's kind of like if we sit there and we say that we go calendar year, if we go USL Championship and then USL League One and sit there when it closes, that's when the year is. But I wanted to at my high school, it was the Valhalla because we were the Lakeside Vikings. And so they stuck with the whole Norse theme and went Valhalla.
I see. We were also Vikings at good old Walker, but they didn't do anything. They just said, this is the 2016 yearbook. Enjoy it, losers.
You had to pay like $59 for something that you were only in a blurry photo with a makeshift tuxedo wrap around your neck kind of a thing.
Which I just want to throw it out there. If for some reason anybody from my alma mater is listening to this, I still haven't got my senior yearbook, and I paid for that. So, like, give it to me.
Wow.
What's that about?
I know, really? Man. So, I mean, I tried not to get the senior yearbook because I thought it was like a waste of time and a waste of money. It's like my picture's not in it. Why should I care?
Yeah. That's the only one I've got. I've got that one. I bought that one in my kindergarten one. It's like, let's see the difference. And I never got the senior one. So here we are.
I mean, come on. What is going on here? USL Championship.
Yes.
Did the early start in the Mountain Time Zone, the noon Eastern kick, did that have any effect on any of it, or is it just a talking point that we could sit there and drag into the conversation? Was it just Colorado Springs' day? Did the early start have an effect out there? What was going on?
It would not have had an effect if Rhode Island won, which I think tells you everything that you need to know. I don't think it had anything to do with it. I really don't. Obviously, there are some differences that you have to deal with, but if Rhode Island wanted to get used to playing at 10 a.m., they should have left earlier and started playing more at 10 a.m. to practice. I don't think it's a talking point. I think it was a sellout crowd. If you watched it, there were people in the apartment complexes watching the game because it was a sellout. I don't think it was anything besides a talking point.
Okay. Can you, when you break down the season that Colorado Springs has had, how would you, other than them, they won the last game of the year, they're the champions. When you look at what the Switchbacks were able to do this season as a part of the continued growth of that franchise, how would you describe what Colorado Springs did this year as a franchise?
If you were able, and I know this is not how it works, but if you were able to cut off the first 5 games of the year, they were the best team in the West. I mean, I think that's how you have to look at it. You can say, well, they were the second seed overall, but if you look at their run into it, they were truly the best team in the West. And this is no slight against New Mexico, obviously, but Colorado Springs was incredible. They were getting goals from everywhere. They were defensively stout all year long. I cannot talk highly enough of what Christian Herrera has become. And I think just in general, you see a lot of players who were not superstar standout names that are now, that they are going to be stars of this league and possibly a league above or a league abroad now. I think that is kind of the story of Colorado Springs is they developed their own talent. They have made their normal guys into stars, and they reaped the benefits of it.
Then to the flip side, and Rhode Island FC, you had a team that got hot in the playoffs. They hit a rhythm under Conno Smith. The Draw Kings made their way in, and as it was referenced to me this weekend, just get into the tournament, quoting Bill Parcells, and you get to see what happened. You got into the tournament. You were the 5. You did it on the road all the way through up into the last match of the season in the postseason. When you look at Rhode Island's draw kings and what they were able to do out of the blocks, it's a great drawing card for them as they go to Tidewater Landings next year.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Rhode Island fans were a little disgruntled for a little bit because, like, yes, we're not losing, but we're not winning either. Like, this sucks. But also, teams who are expansion teams lose, right? They lose to start, and they just didn't. And I think that when you look at what Kano did and when you look at what Ugarte did as those coaching staffs, they stayed true. They stayed the course, and they had their own growing pains. They've never been head coaches and directly assistant coaches before at professional level. They're going to have growing pains, but considering they turned those draws into wins, I think that they just made themselves even more attractive as a club for free agents who they were already dropping a lot of money for free agents to begin with.
When it comes to pleasant surprises, we'll start good news. Pleasant surprises in USL Championship this year. Who was pleasant surprises as a franchise, and then maybe when it comes to individual performances, who was a pleasant surprise? So team pleasant surprise, individual pleasant surprise, if in fact that did exist.
I think the pleasant surprise for me honestly comes down to New Mexico. I thought they were a good team. I didn't think they were that good of a team. And the growth that they had from last year, where we kept kind of referring to New Mexico as a quote unquote like paper tiger for a long time, where if you look at the roster they had 2-3 years ago, they had every attacker you could ever dream of. And you say this team is amazing on paper. And it just never turned out. And they took a team that had some of the same parts and made it into the best team in the West. If I were to look at an individual, I think you stay with the same team and go back to a guy that you guys love near and dear. I mean, Alex Tambakis.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that he should have been like benched last year. I thought that they had a better goalkeeper on the roster in Ford Parker. I thought he was much better. And plus, Ford Parker had the hometown kid. He was from Albuquerque. I was like, this is a no-brainer. Tambakis made me shut up. I thought that they just in general, New Mexico was the pleasant surprise. I could also happily point the finger over at Detroit City, where they get Danny Dichio, and not just that, they keep Trevor James. He doesn't just leave. He is the director of football. That culture that was built by James is still there, and they were just able to elaborate more on it, essentially. I thought that it was fantastic. And if you're going to look at Detroit City, Ben Morris turned into what he should have been last year, and that's been awesome to see as well.
Yeah, so then we all talked about coaches of the year and those kinds of things, and that Dichio should have given some consideration. What were your 1, 2, and 3?
My number 1 was James Chambers. I thought that James Chambers deserved Coach of the Year. The fact that he wasn't a finalist, I think, is dumb.
I saw that. I was like, that was
frankly. He was my number 1. Number 2, I'm trying to think. I think I did say Danny Dichio. Mm-hmm. And number 3, I can't remember if I said Quill or if I said Cruz, but it was one of the top teams in each conference. I can't remember which one it was now.
All right. Biggest disappointment in the USL Championship was whom?
Is it too much of a homer for me just to say Birmingham? Does that make me a homer? Because you look at the roster, you think this team should compete, and they didn't. I think it's kind of that simple there. Don't get me wrong, they didn't seem like a team that was going to compete for a title, but you look at the roster they had and you say this is a team that makes the playoffs, and they didn't. I think that they were the biggest disappointment, I think, pretty easily.
Was there a player that disappointed you this season? You had high expectations going in, you and the show, and they were like, okay, well, that didn't happen.
It's kind of hard to say one player, to
Yeah.
be honest. I think that in general, it was just an overall disappointment. If you point out one guy, you can point out another guy who was equally as disappointing. I don't think it falls on one person.
One guy? No. You can't do that. All right. So as we've gone through the superlatives here and broken down the season, if the published reports had starting 11s and all this kind of stuff, let me see if the USL Championship had their starting 11. And I do want to get into roster moves because some of the teams have already made some preliminary ideas as to what's going on. I know that Pittsburgh has made some initial ideas, and then you've also had Charleston that has had some initial thoughts going through. When it comes to, I'm trying to see if we ended up with a starting 11. Where's my news?
Yes, we do have a starting 11 from the USL Championship and League One.
Okay, so if it is goals of the week, where is it?
Hold on, I'll put it in our private chat.
Okay, so put it in the private chat, and then you can sit there and say this was awful and this didn't work. Okay, so here we go. Thank you. We'll do the same thing for League One. Open in a new tab. All right, so opening in a new tab, since you're faster at this than I am. First team, Eric Dick in net, back four, Jack Gurr, Matt Mahoney, Arturo Ordonez, Graham Smith, Taylor Davila, Jorge Hernandez, Aaron Malloy, Maxi Rodriguez, your midfield four, then your two up top. So the league played a 4-4-2 with Wilson Harris and obviously Nick Marcanic, because Nick Marcanic, he's not bad, and he's going overseas, and he's making the Battery some money.
Yes.
Who in there do you like? Who do you not like? Do you have any disagreements? Because second team had two Tampa Bay Rowdies up top, and Arteaga and Cal Jennings, Fuson, Lapa, and Gondo and Winder, Amu Mensah, Armstrong, Pape Boy, and Sean Tosh is your back four, and then Danny Vidiello, second team. How much changing would you do with the first team and the second team?
I do think that I think that the people who voted this in did a pretty good job on this year.
Right.
I think if I were to be nitpicky and say maybe I would do this, maybe I would do that, I think I would switch Maxi Rodriguez for Noah Fuson. I think it's kind of hard not to have the assist leader in the best 11.
Yeah.
I also would look at Arturo Ordonez or Jack Gurr and put in Ezra Armstrong.
Okay.
I think Ezra Armstrong did not get the numbers to necessarily deserve a top team. But if you watched him, there is no question he is one of the best 11 in the league. I think that he got hurt by a team around him that started really slow. But if you watched him, he was class.
And we've had some coaching changes, not necessarily a surprise, because, when you don't do well, then this is what happens. San Antonio had a change. Mm-hmm. Sacramento has a change, which I thought was interesting, but I guess with the expectation level that is always going there in Sacramento, if you do not advance and are playing in the weekend that just passed, then that is considered a down year and that we probably should go our separate ways. Where are things right now in the coaching carousel? Who's looking and who's keeping up?
I think that there is a lot of waiting right now. Okay. I think you're waiting to see, does a domino fall? I think Briggs, I think that Ayman Zayed are going to be the two that are going to hold up the coaching market a bit.
Right.
I think that once one of those guys fall, I think that's when you are going to start seeing more teams fill in those coaching rosters. But I think really we're waiting on Briggs and Zayed. But right now, there's rumors here and there, just like this guy's going here, this guy's going here. It's all hearsay, and until I hear directly from a coach, an agent, or a roster announcement from a source, I believe zero of it.
Who? Then let me ask it this way.
Yep.
Who in your mind deserves a shot in one of these openings as a head coach in USL Championship? Is there someone from League One that needs a boost up? Is there someone who's an assistant, who's an A1 that needs to get their shot as the guy? The guy?
The guy.
Who is there anybody that deserves that shot, or that anybody that might fill in these spots that we've seen so far?
Honestly, the list starts and stops with Ayman Zayed.
Okay.
I think obviously he's a free agent at this point, but I think you have to start that conversation with him. If you're talking about someone moving up to the championship level, he deserves a head coaching job at the championship level, or straight up an assistant job at the MLS level. I think that highly of him. I think you would also be hard pressed not to say Dom Casciato.
Yeah.
I mean, what he has done with Union Omaha and continuing what Mims has done has been awesome. If you want to hear a little bit more about him, we just interviewed him recently. So if you want to hear more about Dom and kind of like his journey as a coach, he deserves to be higher. He is awesome.
Excellent plug, sir. Nicely done. So Brian Cook, bloody love Ayman. Yeah, of course.
The best.
Hutch asks, have you heard anything on OKC? What is the latest there, if there is a latest?
I think the biggest tell is that they mentioned OKC on the USL final broadcast.
Okay.
They talked about how the USL championship is going to be expanding to Oklahoma City again. So they kind of mentioned it on broadcast, which I think is the most what's the word? Concrete way of saying that they are still happening. People do need to remember that OKC and Memphis are different situations. Memphis traded away their rights to have a club. OKC held on to theirs. So they don't have to necessarily expand. They just need to tell the league, we're coming, we're here, we're alive. So, and they'll just put them to the roster and figure it out. That's really all they have to do, especially with now that they seem to have their stadium almost fully figured out. It seems like they're going to be here sooner than later.
All of the stuff that was going on with Taft and all of the issues and the infrastructure that was being discussed there in Oklahoma City, hopefully getting sorted out fairly quickly so OKC can get back on the big board. Charleston Batteries announced that they've exercised contract options on Nathan Dos Santos, Arturo Rodriguez, and Juan David Torres as a part of their initial roster moves. 10 players currently set to return: Leland Archer, Josh Drack, Graham Smith, Mark Segbers, Aaron Malloy, MD Myers, Zeke Soto, previously under contract. 7 players entering free agency. Declined the contract option on Samuel Beek and the retirement of Adam Grinwis, obviously. Battery announces 7 players entering free agency. Chris Allen, but it was noticed on social media yesterday that they're negotiating with Allen to try to get him back. Jackson Conway, Robbie Crawford, Kuzemka, Palma, Prince Saidi, and Emilio Icaza. And Jay Chapman returning to Hartford Athletic. Nick Marcanic is heading to CD Castillon in the winter window. So early moves from Charleston. Any surprises there?
No. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward from Charleston. I mean, if you're looking at teams, or if you're looking for the big who is not around anymore free agent right now, I think you're looking not at Charleston or you're not looking at Charleston. I think that you're going to look your eyes to Tampa Bay or Detroit City, where a lot of people are going to be looking at a Jack Doherty or a Cal Jennings from Tampa Bay. But I think the biggest free agent is going to be James Murphy from Detroit City. I think he's the biggest free agent right now, mostly because I think that he is more likely to stay within the USL. I think Cal Jennings is destined to be picked up for cheap by an MLS team. I just don't see any way that he stays at the USL level. And James Doherty, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes England or somewhere like that. James Murphy is going to have a ton of suitors at the championship or in the League of Ireland. I think that he is the free agent right now.
Tampa Bay announces that they were bringing Leo Fernandez and Lewis Hilton back. They were going to get new contracts coming back for 25. Exercise the options on Nick Moon and Pacifica Nyongbire. Additionally, Arteaga, Bodley, Crisostomo, Guillen, Mustali, Ortiz, Nate Worth, previously under contract. Jordan Farr goes to DC United. That's a decent pickup for DC United. Declined options on Breno, Bub, Forrest Lasso, but they are negotiating with Forrest Lasso on a return. Munjoma, Josh Perez. You mentioned Cal Jennings, Darty, and Freddie Kleeman all out of contract, not returning. Ben Bender and Damian Rivera's loans have ended. They're returning to their parent clubs. Tampa Bay, sir, what say you?
I mean, again, I just think that you're looking at what is Cal Jennings going to do. I just think he's destined to go to MLS or somewhere else. Freddie Kleeman, I think, is a big one. I think that he's someone who has a ton of potential. We'll just see how that one shakes out. Forrest Lasso, I don't see him leaving Tampa Bay. He seems like a guy who's just going to kind of stay there. I think the biggest deal is going to be who's playing goalkeeper for them last year. Because, I mean, you're looking over at Jordan Farr, who is not there anymore. Breno is not there either. What are they going to do at the goalkeeper position? I am fascinated by Tampa Bay on that with that one.
Marcanic Player of the Year, Elijah Winder. Young Player of the Year, Danny Cruz. Championship Coach of the Year, Graham Smith. Defender of the Year, Eric Dick. USL Championship Keeper of the Year. We kind of got into Marcanic and Danny Cruz and all of that. What about the others?
Young Player of the Year, I understand why I went Elijah Winder. My personal vote went to a guy that's on my team. I thought Kobe Hernandez-Foster was the better Young Player of the Year. I think one thing that kind of goes against Foster is he already got his move abroad. He already went to Europe and came back, but he's still just 21. I thought he played better than Elijah Winder, but I get it. It's one of those situations of I totally understand why Winder got it. He would have been my second vote.
Winder, Serrano, and Pape Boye were the three that were the finalists in the ballot. 12 players getting votes. Those were the top.
Papa Boy was, I mean, he is unbelievable. He is so good. He is one of those guys that you understand why he was a first-round pick in the MLS draft. You totally get it. You watch him, and he looks older than I think he's 20 years old. He just does not look like a 20-year-old out there. He looks like someone who has been trusted, 30-year-old center back. He's not destined for USL for very long. He's going to get a move. Someone in MLS is going to spend a lot of money on him because he is just that good.
Defender Graham Smith got 43% of the vote. Jack Gurr got second with 30, with a career best 8 assists, 27 tackles, and a 66% success rate. Matt Mahoney was third for defender, 68 picks and fifth in clearances with 135.
Graham Smith was the correct answer. Honestly, Graham Smith was awesome. I love Jack Gurr. Everybody knows that I love Jack Gurr. I am going to kind of play a little bit of the injury card. I think that he was fantastic, but I just don't think he was healthy enough to be in that conversation. And that's not fair at all, but it's the way I feel about it. I think that is a situation where if I am looking at, I mentioned it earlier, Ezra Armstrong got one of those votes for me. I thought Ezra was fantastic. I think you could look at a Pop Boy, or you could look at a Devin Amu-Mensah. I think you could look at those guys and say, I think that they had the more complete season, but yeah, conjecture.
Yes. Well, we can't have conjecture on the show. Not happening. Let's go to League One.
Yeah.
Break down the year in League One. Obviously, when you're making more news off the field, that's not what you want. And right now, we've got the league teams. We'll get into the news as we go. First team, looks like they wanted to go 3-4-3 with League One's first team and second team. Sean Lewis in net. Osmond, Rendon, and Jordan Skelton from one notch. Your back three. Luis Alvarez, Devin Boyce, Dolabella, and Luis Heel. And then your front three is Horde, McKinnon, and JC Obregon. How is it that only one player from the championship team ended up in the first team all-league starting 11?
We kind of discussed this on the USL show. I discussed this with Dom Cacciato. I just wanted to know what he thought. And I kind of come down to the breakdown of they are a team full of basically third team all USL guys. They have their superstars, and Don Casciaro said himself, you don't win the league without a superstar. It's just not possible. And Pedro de la Bella is absolutely that guy. I think you can look at a gosh, now I'm blanking on his name. Joe Gallardo, and say that maybe you could look at Alvarez and replace him with Gallardo. I think League One also got it pretty right. There's not many changes I would make. I think that maybe I would look at goalkeeper and say, Lalo from Noco can deserve that.
Yeah,
I think he could deserve that one. I think you can look at Rashid Nuhu because obviously, I don't know. I think that League One got it mostly right. The one thing that always makes me mad about these is that you have a back line of Mitch Osman, Jordan Skelton, and Bruno Rendon. Bruno Rendon is put in as the central center back when he was kind of a winger.
Yeah.
It's purely semantics. That does not matter, but it makes me mad, so therefore it matters.
There you go.
I think that the league voters got it pretty right.
Second team, by the way, for those that didn't have the chance to take a peek at it, Lalo Delgado, as you mentioned, keeper for Hailstorm. Back three, Simon Fitch from Richmond, David Garcia, and Nick Spielman from Charlotte. Your midfield four has the two from Greenville in the middle with Chapa Herrera and Evan Lee. Ates Juve out on the left, Jimmy Villalobos on the right, and Pedro Fonseca, Alfredo Midens from Fuego, and Nil Vinyals from Richmond is your second team in USL League One. So when you stare at League One and all of its superlatives from this season, I know that disappointingly we have to kind of look at stuff from off the field. And when you look at right now where things are exiting 24 and heading into 25, Portland Hearts of Pine, they've now got Bobby Murphy as their first head coach. They're making their inroads. AV Alta is flipping over their stadium. They're starting to install their surface. Those photos came out the other day. Where is League One for you right now as a part of the structure of the U.S. soccer pyramid?
Honestly, I think with the removal of Noco and Fuego, it's in the better spot than it ever has been. Those were ownerships that were bad, horrible, that I think that those same ownerships would not be granted access into League One because at that point they had received waivers essentially that said we aren't going to, or we'll eventually be able to do all the things, but they were just trying to grow the league. I think that's in a more stable spot than ever. I think that when you look at Alta, you're going to say, okay, they are going to replace what Fuego kind of was in terms of geography.
Yeah.
You're going to look at Texoma, which I did learn is actually just in Texas and not on the Texas-Oklahoma line, which I think is garbage. I think one half should be in Texas, the other half should be in Oklahoma.
Well, they do represent the Quad Cities. We had Adrian on in a 1v1 where it is what is it? Sherman, Ada, Ardmore, and Denison. So that's the Quad Cities right there for Texoma, and it's going to be a fun story for them.
I understand that, but why not put one half in Oklahoma, one half in Texas? I mean, saying that we're shooting towards the Texas side or towards the Oklahoma side, come on.
I mean, yeah.
It's
if you did that, say if you played Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
And you did it right there on the border. You put up like a little modular pop-up stadium right there and where you can figure it out. See, now you've got something started here. We're going to have to talk to Adrian and go, what if you did this and truly had a Texoma day?
Well, why don't we open this up even more? Think about the money in college. If you're going to have the Red River shootouts at the Cotton Bowl where half is this, half is that.
Yeah.
Put everybody on the Texas side. You are Texas fans. Everybody on the Oklahoma side, you are Oklahoma fans. If you have it for men's soccer or women's soccer, host the Red River rivalry at Texoma Stadium, half and half, and it's on your specific state side, come on. The money prints itself, people.
Oh, the Red River football rivalry. Yeah, we got to figure out where to put this modular stadium, or if there is a downtown, or if there's like a downtown or a city limits where we can do something like this. But no, Texoma is going to be a fun story as part of the development. But yeah, I think you're right that when you look at the dynamic in play, that AV Alta is your swap out for Fuego. Have not heard anything about the Katofsky lawsuit yet in the state of California. Thanks to our friends at Law 360 for helping us out with the initial thoughts on that. You're adding Naples, which is eventually going to be a part of your southern footprint. Portland Hearts of Pine, they've got the great gear. They're going to take me to the poorhouse. And then you've got Westchester coming to play, and then Corpus Christi the next couple of seasons too. So I know that we're obviously looking for stability when it comes to USL League One, and especially as Lexington moves up, you got to figure out folks that are going to go in right now with 10 franchises in League One. Before you get out of here, what is Thanksgiving at the Casa de Kaylor? What is going on there?
Well, we are actually heading towards your direction. We are going to Atlanta tomorrow to see the wife's family, and then we're just going to drive back through, see my family on Friday, and go into a turkey coma come Saturday, Sunday. As you do.
Yeah, as you do. So what's the latest with the USL show? Scarf shown here in Office HD.
Obviously, show tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we are also trying to get somebody from Colorado Springs on to get some interview stuff going. But again, like I mentioned earlier, if you want to hear a championship coach talk about their, championship, listen to Dom Casciato. It's on YouTube, goals.tv, and all your podcast players.
Yes. Well, and at the same time, you need to have but if you have a USL championship, USL championship coach talking about a championship, it'd have to be the USL championship coach, wouldn't it?
The championship squared is coming. We will talk about. I mean, the League One championship is just confusing. It's fine.
Yes. All right. So please have a fantastic holiday. Thanks for all of your stuff. And let's see. Do you? I will leave this open to you. Do you? So what's Super League had their fall finale, right?
No, they have a game. There's a few more games this weekend.
Okay. So then do you want to come back next Tuesday and talk about Super League, and we'll have you back in there, and then that way you can have the holidays to yourself and then come back when you want?
Let's do it.
All right. So you're going to come back next Tuesday at 10:30, and we're going to talk about the Super League and USL and all that kind of stuff. Be well, my friend. Have a safe Thanksgiving.
You as well. See ya.
All right. That's Kaylor. So Kaylor's going to come in. Hutch has the thought. Lake Texoma is on the Texas-Oklahoma border. The city is just south of the lake. But we need something, Hutch, we need something like right there where see, if we're going to take this and have this as the SDH Network, the USL show, Red River Texhoma Classic, and spell it Texhoma, Texhoma, we're going to have to find a place where we can do it like in a city. Like if there's got to be a place where we can have this and have it be completely and totally all squared away. There's got to be a place. Hutch, we got to look at the geography here. We got to figure out if there's a way that we can do Red River with Corpus Christi and Texhoma, and do it as Texhoma and do it as Red River. So then you would have to have the Texhoma side be on the Oklahoma side, and Corpus Christi would be on the Texas side. See, we're plotting this out. This is going to be fantastic when it happens. We got to figure out a modular stadium construction and do it right there for Red River, for the USL League One Red River rivalry. This has to be done. Absolutely has to be done. And by the way, our friends at Texoma took me to the poorhouse too. I got some of their gear the other day. All right, so gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch, how to watch it. We didn't even get into the Champions League is tomorrow, and we didn't even get into the Premier League. We didn't even get into the Premier League and what's going on there with Manchester City getting thumped by Spurs. It was another wild weekend in the Prem, as Nick says. All right, so here we go. Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim keen on Wolves Algerian wingback Ryan Ait-Nouri, 3-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Also interested in Chelsea's Christopher Nkunku, but could face competition from Dortmund. Newcastle interested in Antoine Semenyo, but unlikely to make a January move unless other players leave. Fulham and Leicester eyeing a loan deal for Brighton's Evan Ferguson. Manchester City not looking to take advantage of a buyback clause to bring Liam Delap back from Ipswich. Sean Dyche has the full backing of Farhad Mashiri and will be in charge for the foreseeable future. Unless, of course, Mashiri no longer is owner. United have inquired about Giovanni Kenda, valued at €60 million. Red Devils also targeting a number of strikers. PSG's Randall Colomawani, Eintracht Frankfurt's Omar Marmouche. That's from Florian Plettenberg at Sky Germany. United monitoring 25-year-old Wolves forward Matheus Cunha. Spurs also showing interest. He scored on the weekend. AC Milan set to rival Newcastle for the signing of Everton's Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Real Madrid considering a move for defender Jared Branthwaite. Manchester City confident Erling Haaland will follow Pep Guardiola in signing a new contract with the club. That comes from our friends at Gimme Sport. Barcelona eyeing a $70 million deal, €70 million deal, £58.4 million for Victor Gyökeres. Brighton are to take Cork City's 17-year-old Ireland under-18 winger Matthew Murray on a trial. Forest are confident they will agree to a new contract with fullback Ola Aina. PSG's defender Milan Skriniar set to join Juve in the January window. Spurs may look to sign a keeper in January after Vicario suffered a broken ankle that required surgery. And also now the new news out of Fort Lauderdale is Angel Di Maria and no longer Neymar. So we'll see what happens as they continue to burst these how do we phrase? See the salary cap as a loose construct and as something to get around. It is literally like a traffic cone for them. So we'll see what the plot is there. Today, it is Copa del Rey on the Plus at 1 o'clock. Benítez, Getafe, Parla Escuela, and Valencia. That's at 1 o'clock on the Plus. Paramount Plus has AFC Champions League Elite. 2 matches going on right now. They've already had 4. Al-Sadd, Al-Hilal, Al-Shorta, Al-Wasl. English Championship, Burnley, Coventry City at 2:45. Sunderland and West Brom at 3. League One has Wrexham and Lincoln City, the Imps, at 2:45. Champions League. Oh, man. Okay, we got Champions League today, so we got to do juice boxes. Slovan Bratislava, Milan, Sparta Prague, and Atletico Madrid at 12:45. All the rest are at 3. Barcelona Brest, Leverkusen Salzburg, Bayern Munich PSG, Inter Leipzig, Manchester City Feyenoord, Sporting and Arsenal, Young Boys, and Atalanta. That is all that is today. By the way, Clayton State has advanced in their tournament. Columbus State has advanced in theirs. Emory has advanced to the Final Four, so they're heading to Vegas. We'll see if we can catch up with coaches this week as well across the board. And if we can't catch up with them live here on the show, we'll try to do it in 1v1 settings. So keep everything squared away on the network. All right, so we needed to do juice boxes. We still haven't even gotten into the other matchups in Major League Soccer either. So Seattle beat LAFC, late goal by Jordan Morris, north of 90 minutes. Took the extra 30 to get to there, but they won 2-1. We'll catch up with Nico. We'll try and have Nino and Nico on Friday because there's no show on Thursdays. We'll try to get all of that squared away for what's going on this week. Then we'll get into the stuff tomorrow. The Atlanta United Information Exchange Program with Tyler Pilgrim. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the rest of Major League Soccer with Tyler. Everything else on his mind. Remember, they had their MLS Monday last night. So we'll get into everything with Tyler. See if we can track down Dylan Butler pre-Thanksgiving at 10. See if we can track down Marion Crowder pre-Thanksgiving at 10:30. Otherwise, we'll talk about Champions League and get you ready for the day. Thursday, once again, reruns. All your favorites for reruns. We're going to post those on Thanksgiving. The MLS fixing of the All-Star game, both seasons of that. And a lot of you have requested soccer over there, so we're going to put some soccer over there episodes. We'll just make it a full day of programming across the network, so when one thing finishes, you can start on the next. So it'll be all day from like 9:05 until whenever. Then it'll be the soccer over there and fun segments marathon, and then Friday we'll be back at it. So Champions League, odds, gossip, and rumor innuendo. Okay. Slovan Bratislava plus 1382. AC Milan a minus 476. Sparta Prague a plus 463. Atletico Madrid a minus 152. Those are your 1245s. Barcelona minus 526 at home against Brest. Leverkusen minus 500 hosting Salzburg. Bayern Munich minus 175 hosting PSG. Inter minus 233 hosting RB Leipzig. Manchester City minus 526 hosting Feyenoord. Sporting a plus 237 at home hosting Arsenal. Arsenal's a plus 120. Young Boys a plus 611 at home hosting Atalanta, who is a minus 227. We're still in the non-league phase, in the league phase, by the way. So we'll see how things are after today and tomorrow. Then get into Europa League, and we'll talk about all of that on Friday. Okay. Once again, thanks to Matt Valentine and everybody at USL Dallas for brokering that particular interview. It was great to catch up with them. And also, it was great to catch up with Kaylor to find out about the USL Championship, and about USL League One and his senior superlatives. We'll talk about Super League and the season next week after Thanksgiving, so that way we can put a bow on Kaylor's coverage here for 2024. Thanks to all of you for being here, as you always are. Since we're north of 11 o'clock, that means that we'll be back in less than 22 hours. 9:05 Eastern time, we'll be back at it again for your Wall Pass Wednesday once again. Tyler Pilgrim at 9:15, hopefully Dylan Butler at 10, and hopefully Marion Crowder at 10:30. So that is a show. Back at it again tomorrow. Thanks again for dropping by, as you always do. For everybody here at SDH, that's SDH AM. I am just John. Play it safe, everybody. Mucho plot, y'all. It's the end of the show. That means we get to do this. We'll see you